students, this explanation is going to be about sexual reproduction. Remember, we're using the baby lab as our main activity, main phenomenon to learn about genetics and inheritance. So I'm going to briefly explain this, and then I will post this on Google Classroom. So really quick, this diagram shows sexual reproduction. Organisms reproduce sexually, meaning there's a male and a female, male and female cell, reproductive cells, as opposed to asexual when organisms can just reproduce with themselves, by themselves. So right here we have female egg and male sperm. These are referred to in your readings and books as reproductive cells. Reproductive cells, they're called reproductive cells because they're involved in reproduction. They're also called gametes. Gametes and reproductive cells. Later on, they're also called haploid cells. There's so many names in biology for the exact same thing, but you need to be familiar with them. So right here we have an egg cell. And inside the nucleus of the egg cell, we have these little squiggles. So what do those squiggles represent? These squiggles inside the nucleus of our reproductive cells are referred to as chromosomes. Chromosomes are structures that are made up of protein and DNA. They're made up of DNA and protein, and they are what contain our genes. And if you did the vocabulary and been watching the videos, you know that genes are sections, parts of DNA, and they code for traits through the proteins. So the gene codes for proteins, and those proteins are what determine your physical characteristics, your hair color, the curly hair, the round face, square face, anything, all the characteristics. So these are chromosomes. These are what are located inside the reproductive cells. And what happens is that half of the needed chromosomes are given by the mom, and half of the needed chromosomes are given by the dad. And they join together and they have a complete set, and this zygote, this single cell, will divide many times and eventually will turn into a baby. These are called homologous chromosomes. Homologous. Homo refers to same. Chromosomes that are homologous are the same shape, the same length, the same size, and they contain genes for the same trait. Give me a moment. Isaac, I'm recording a video right now, so just give me like 3-ish minutes, okay? All right, so here we have a locus. Locus is just refers to location. Give me a moment, Isaac. I'm almost done. So we have genes that are. Oops, I'm messing up. I'm getting distracted. Give me a moment. Oof. All right, so sorry about that. You can just skip this part. So what was I saying? Okay, so our homologous chromosomes contain genes, and our genes are represented by letters. Scientists have determined, or they're using letters to determine genes. So homologous chromosomes contain genes for the same trait, but they most likely don't have the same allele. The allele is the version of the gene. For example, let's say for A would be, let's just say, this trait that these genes code for is going to be hair color. There's going to be version capital A, dominant A, and version A. So maybe capital A would be for brown hair, and little a would be for blonde hair. So the dad gives one chromosome, a paternal chromosome, and his chromosome contains one dominant gene for brown hair, and the mom gives one chromosome, and it contains one gene for blonde hair. So the gene from the mom, from the dad, plus dad will give you the genotype that the baby has, just like in your data table for the baby lab. And the phenotype would be, depending on the context, would be what physical characteristic the kid has based on this combination of genes. So let's just say the genotype would be brown hair. So how it works, the dad gives the chromosome, mom gives a chromosome, 23 from dad, 23 from mom. They contain genes. The genes might have different versions of them. They combine together and gives the phenotype to the kid. And that's, in short, how sexual reproduction works. And that's what the baby lab was trying to demonstrate. Later on, based on this information, we can make the wonderful Punnett squares to determine what are the potential combinations that we can get based off the genes of the parents, and what's the percentages and probability. So we'll do this later. Sorry for the interruption. It's fine. A student was talking to me, but I'll post this on Google Classroom.